So today we're going to be looking at Intro to Encounter, and just as a first question, how many would say they've been out on outreach probably under 5 times? Is that true? Yeah. Yep. And so, we all have to start somewhere. I think that it can be so easy to say, well, I've never done this before, so I'm not going to do it, or I've never done this before, so I don't know how. So it's good to address that, and so one of the things that we want to do here is just make it a place where you can come on in and you can learn how and experience how the Lord works through one-on-one encounters in a street outreach. And so today is going to be our Intro to Encounter, and some of the things that we'll kind of get into, just a quick overview of who to engage, how to engage, and really what the goal is, kind of while we're out. So those will be kind of the three main points. But the first thing I just wanted to highlight was who to engage. And when you think of Uptown, it's just really easy to think of, oh, there's people going around. There's just people about. And so we want to kind of have an idea about what are they doing. Like for an example, I always had thought when I first came down to the area that, oh, Lake Calhoun, it's like there's tons of people there, There's always people walking around the lake, and so I'll just go down there and start talking to them. But what I found was they're trying to get exercise, they're running, or they're walking on the path, and so you go up to them, be like, oh, hi, and they're gone, or you go up to them, oh, hi there, and then they're out the way, and so to start to get an idea of, well, maybe having an idea about what the person's doing, while they're out, is one thing, and so I have found that, if you try to engage people that are doing physical activity, that can be harder. But then on the other side, I started to notice in going down to the lake that people would just put out like mats or put out, like a little picnic basket, and they just kind of would have their hammock up or whatever too, and so started to find the different spots where they're actually just there, just there and relaxing. So that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to mention was if you look for somebody that's like seated down, like you'll see somebody that's just sitting, maybe they're looking at their phone or whatever, And I found that people that are like kind of just holding still and holding steady are more inclined to want to talk, to want to engage, as you approach them. Another thing I found too, which is a little bit of common sense, but it also is just something to be aware of, is people that have like headphones in, earbuds or headphones, and you don't always see them too, so it can be hard to like always pick up on that one. But people that have headphones in are a lot less likely to engage, than somebody that's just there, that's just there hanging out. And so we've kind of really had as one of our main spots be the Uptown transit station. And the main reason for that is because people just go there they just are waiting, they just gather there and are waiting to catch their bus. So it's good if you can find somebody that's in that waiting mode. And I actually found out this too just by accident, but we were walking along by the Lunds over there off of 31st, and there was a guy just out there waiting for his wife getting a haircut. So, you wouldn't think of outside of a hair salon as a place that you could, start to engage with someone, but man, it was just totally open door for the conversation because, man, he was sitting there, he had nothing going on, he was just hanging out, and so looking for those opportunities, where it's a person that is ready they're kind of at that place where they're still and they're more ready to listen, is something to keep an eye on out there. But the really important thing on this one too that I wanted to highlight is that you shouldn't only trust your eyes though. if the Lord prompts you, to move, then by all means, move, and so there will be times when you're out that the Lord just highlights someone to you, and the last week that we had gone out, I actually was on one side of the bus station and get ready to cross the street, and so I told the team, I'm like, yeah, we'll cross the street and we'll engage with people over on the other side, and right as I got to the corner, there was a guy just standing in a black coat, just back was the other way. But right away it was like, go talk to him. It was just one of those things where it wasn't even, it was just, that's the guy that I wanted to go talk to. And so I just I didn't stop and tell the team, I just walked over and then we just started engaging. Ended up that he was a believer, but he also was just really needing to get planted into the church and had been 13 years sober, so that was really a cool testimony. But one of the guys on my team was newly, just getting into walking out and sober living. And so to me that was like, man, the Lord just brought that testimony for this new believer that's trying to answer yes, and taking those first few steps. Well, our first encounter ended up being just fantastic, like 15 minutes, and exactly a great person for him to run into, as the initial engagement. And so we want to also be just ready to hear the Spirit, and ready to move with the Spirit. So those are kind of some of the quick spots on who to engage. Well, how to engage then is the next big question, and that's, I think, a big one too that kind of slows people up, in taking part in outreach. And we a lot of times will do, like, you can look over here and we have some goodies that we can hand out. There's some like Rice Krispie bars and some granola bars and a couple other things. So it can be nice to have something to hand out to people, and I like that, as a way to just start the conversation rolling, and almost inevitably they'll ask you, well, what are you doing this for, or what's going on? And there's a really good opportunity to turn it right to the Lord, when that happens. And so we want to just tell people we're out here to bless the city, but we also want to tell people about the Lord, and then you can give a testimony or whatever the Lord puts to your mind, share a verse. Those are some good things to do. But the main thing with how to engage is just start out with friendliness. If you can just give somebody even a friendly hello, I've had so many times where that's all it takes to start a conversation. And I think, especially in this climate right now, how so many people have been just shut up in their houses for months and months and months. I'll a lot of times in these last few weeks just go up to somebody, man, how are you doing with all this COVID stuff? It's been kind of a crazy time, and just getting back to that personal engagement. So how to engage, it's good to start with that be friendly, but we go out 2 by 2, so we never send, we don't want any Lone Rangers, going out there. We want to have a team while we're sharing, but anytime you're in an encounter, you'll have the lead for that encounter, and then you'll have the backup. And so as the lead, you're the one that's kind of carrying that a lot of times. And I've seen it a lot of times where the backup really has something they want to say, and they're getting all excited and ready, and they'll just jump in. Well, we want to have a little more kind of tact than that, a little more grace than that. And so you kind of want to put your hand on the person's shoulder. So if Carlos, why don't you come over here? So if Carlos was talking, Carlos is kind of telling, I would just be like this. And then Carlos can invite me into the conversation, or not, his choice. But then Carlos would then invite me in, hey, this is my friend Rob. And then I can share, if it's a verse the Lord had given me, or if it's just a word of kindness or something, that the Lord has put on my heart. Then you do it with grace too, there. And so the other thing there is, you want to be, as the second person, you want to be vigilant of what's going on kind of around you. there's so many times where you're in a really good encounter with someone. Say you've been talking for 10 minutes and you can feel like, all right, this is really coming right to it. Well, something's going to come in to try to distract you. It might be a dog that comes along, or a person with a dog, and they come in and break up kind of well, as the distractor, when you're watching out for that, so the ministry can still happen. So I wouldn't want to cut it off and oh, hi there, dog, if that's what it was, and keep them into the ministry part and cut off the potential distractions coming along. And so the third thing that person does is, and this is good for the whole time that you're out too, is to be on-site prayer support. So, one of our main tools in all of Christianity is prayer. Just understanding that we can bring everything to the Lord, and also understanding too that it's His Spirit that really changes people's hearts. It's not our super great words or whatever, but it's the power of the Lord that draws people into His kingdom. And so praying right there, for that encounter, for the Lord to stop. And as they're telling you things, you can just pray for it, right there. You can just in your head, just pray for it immediately, And so that's a really powerful way to impact the people that are around us, and specifically too, we've been talking about the importance of praying for specifics, is praying for people by name, and praying for specific things that you learn about. And so in the way that the Lord answers those prayers, and hears those prayers. And so the how to engage, it's always good to, when you're out there, one of the main things that I would tell everyone is whoever your teammate is when you go out, that's a part of your ministry. It's not just whoever you might run into on the street. And so you want to be connected, and engaged, and definitely do not lose your partner. I've had people literally run off from me, and get out, so I have to chase them down for 10 minutes. At some of the bigger outreaches, not so much on the smaller outreach, but when it's the big citywide outreach, that can be a little bit of a bugger. But I'm not going to name names or tell stories to protect the innocent. So that's stay close and connected to whoever you're with, and just understand that that's a part of the mission too. We're in this together. And so the third thing is releasing the kingdom. And so there's been so many times that I go out where you could be out and you can even have really great encounters, and people are hearing and they're saying, yeah, that's really good, but I'm just not ready, or that's giving me something to think about, things like that are things that you'll hear out there. And so if you hear that enough times, it can kind of be like, well, man, what is going on? I feel like that was a good encounter. I feel like we were really engaging, but they didn't say yes, And so when I go out, I really like to look at it as scattering seeds. When we're scattering seeds of the gospel, and we don't have the control over what soil that seed lands on, but we're still called to scatter the seeds. He doesn't say, only scatter the seed if it's pure and great, perfect soil. It's some of it's going to land on the path. Some of it's going to land on rocky soil, but other seed is going to land on that rich, that ready soil where it will reap the 30, the 60, the 100-fold. And so that's a really good thing to keep in mind while we're going out. It's just that as we're doing this, we are releasing the kingdom, even if no one says yes, and even if no one even talks to us for 10 minutes, at a time. It's still releasing the kingdom because we're scattering the seeds of the word, and we're scattering the seeds of the gospel while we go. And so that has an impact on people's lives. We have so many promises through the Word of God, that as we bring the Word out, that it will accomplish its purpose. It's not going to return void. So one of the things I like to do is, I might have like a favorite verse or two that I like to share. For me, I might just say, when I came to know the Lord, it was Ephesians 2:8-9 was the first verse I learned. For it's by grace you have been saved through faith. And this not of yourselves, it's the gift of God and not of works, so that no one can boast. So the gospel is really the great equalizer for like all mankind. That we all need grace, but we all have it available to us as well. And so it's good to have just like a favorite verse or two that you can interject into the conversation, and then we can go away, whatever happens beyond that, we can go away knowing that seed was planted and the Lord's word went out, and that the Lord will do with it what he will. And so it's just good to be a part of that, be a part of the God's kingdom, and seeing it grow, and seeing, of course, messengers come out as well. So we're not going to break up into teams yet, but what I'd like to do is spend maybe about 10 minutes, 15 minutes in prayer, so we can kind of just break up into little groups, and maybe 3 or 4 people, and just take some time to pray. Again, through all these things, what we want to just bring with us is prayer, and just understanding that the more that we invite the Lord into what we're doing, the better it will be. And we're really disagreeing with the Lord anyway. He desires that none would perish. Lord, change my heart so I would think that too. That's a prayer that I pray all the time. It's so easy to want to vanquish our enemies, and those that are around us, but our battle is not against flesh and blood. It's against the powers and principalities of this dark world. So just come in an agreement with how the Lord sees people that we see.